Hello, everyone. It's such a pleasure to see all of you here. For our blind and low vision guests who would benefit from a visual description, I'm a woman of Asian descent standing with a microphone in my hand. It is my pleasure to welcome all of you here to the Casting Visionaries panel hosted by IMDbPro at the Casting Society at the Amazon MGM Studios offices in Culver. Oh, it's so exciting to see everyone here. Thank you to our panelists for joining us and telling us more about their lives and their world. Today's discussion will also be followed by networking, so I hope all of you can stay. There's also an info desk in the back, so please come back, learn more about our product, about how to showcase yourself, and how to find talent. If you aren't already an IMDb Pro member, please join us using the QR code or going to imdbpro.com. Now, it is my honor to present our panelists and introduce our moderator, Jeff Lapino Esposito. He is a video producer for IMDb and has interviewed many actors, including Lin-Manuel Miranda, Timothée Chalamet, Jennifer Coolidge, and I believe all the Chris's.
3 of the 4 Chris.
Okay, we got one more Chris we've got to do.
Yeah.
With that said, Jeff, please take it away.
Thank you, Jenny. Thank you, yes. If Chris Pine is here today and willing to be interviewed, let me know. Come to me after. Thank you all for being here. Thank you, all of you. I'm so excited that you've taken the time to share your knowledge and insights with us. To provide a brief image description of myself as well, I'm a man with dark curly hair, a beard. I'm seated and holding a microphone. I especially want to shout out SAG-AFTRA members in the audience. I'm so glad that you are here. I hope you verified your SAG-AFTRA membership on IMDb Pro as well. Get that badge. We really want to see that up there so casting directors can find you and learn more about you. I'm going to have y'all just go down the line, introduce yourselves with your name, a brief image description as well, and tell me 2 or 3 of some of the most memorable projects you've worked on.
My name is Carla Hool. I'm a woman, dark blonde, curly hair, sitting, holding a microphone. 3 projects. One would be Emilia, Perez, which is out right now. Coco. Narcos.
Narcos, wow.
And that's it.
Thanks, Carla.
I'm Jill Anthony Thomas. I am a woman with auburn hair and an all-black outfit, seated. Some of my favorite credits are the pilot for Gilmore Girls, a show I'm working on now called Loot with Maya Rudolph, and anything that Victor Fresco produced, but maybe Better Off Ted or Santa Clarita Diet. He's my favorite producer.
Cool.
Hey, I'm Seth Yanklewitz. I am a male. I'm bald. I'm heavily tattooed. I'm sitting. I like long. Okay, I'm just kidding. So I guess my sort of most memorable would be New Girl, The Hangover, and yeah, I'll leave it there.
Those are big ones.
Hi, I'm Gohar Gazazyan. I am a woman. Have dark shoulder-length hair. I'm sitting holding a microphone. Some of my favorite projects, I would say, are The Walking Dead. One of my favorite shows that I've ever been a part of, Julia, which was a delight. I really liked working on the Comey role. That was pertinent.
Yeah, some real casting challenges, yes. Okay, I want to start somewhere maybe a little challenging. The industry is always evolving as far as production, technology, distribution, and recently we are seeing a consolidation across the industry and in streaming. I'm curious how that's affecting your day-to-day and the job you do. Jill, we can start with you if you're feeling inspired. You looked the most scared, so I chose you.
I think one of the biggest differences for me as a casting director is there aren't as many network TV shows that are doing 22 episodes a season. So I'm having to it's like a gig economy. I'm constantly looking for the next project because I have one Netflix that's only 8 episodes, one Apple that's only 10 episodes. So for me, that's greatly impacted. I feel like I'm always looking for more work, much like actors. Did I answer the question?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, a little bit more gig-based. How has it been for you, Seth?
You know, I think having been both an executive and a casting director, there was a period where we would meet with actors and you'd sort of say, like, there are 732 shows across every place you can watch anything. And now, obviously, that's decreased severely. But I think the idea of a consolidation in terms of the amount of episodes, right, and the fact that people aren't really watching the big four, as they used to call it, right, the networks, that we really do sort of have to go gig to gig. I think what Jill said is spot on for the current sort of temperature.
Yeah, well then I'll shift us to something positive, which is I'd love to hear, and maybe Gohar, you can start us with this, and then I'll send it over to you, Carla. It's going to be good, don't worry. I want to hear about a recent, for lack of a more nuanced term, discovery of talent, someone that you found out there, how they came into your life, what tools you used to find them on a recent project that excited you.
I mean, the word discovery is not my favorite because, I'm not responsible for, finding these people and making them artists. They're out there and we're just getting to know them. I think that word probably applies the most when you're looking for young people. So I guess I would cite as an example, I did a show called Paper Girls, which was a lovely show. It only had one season, but the leads were 4 12-year-old girls. And we cast it in the middle of the pandemic. And we did an open call, and we got hundreds and hundreds of tapes, and we had to send very detailed instructions about how to tape to people who were not actors. We were also reading people through representatives, and we tested several people through the open call, and then we found 4 really talented young women who were amazing in the show. Fina Straza, Cameron Jones, Riley Nalinalette, and Sophia Rosinski. And that to me is like more where the word discovery applies, right? In other places, it's actors who we've probably been bringing in for so long, or fresh out of, drama school or something like that. But I would say that's hopefully answers that question.
Absolutely. Carla, I know we were just talking earlier about people often call you in to search far and wide for a very specific call for a part, and you're so talented at it. Anybody come to mind for you?
I'm trying to think which one is a good example. I have 2. One is a movie that is coming out December, and it's a very small independent film, directed by the directors of Peanut Butter Falcon, and it's called Los Frikis. And that is something we cast during the pandemic, during an uprising in Cuba, because this is a theme, based on a true story, true fact. And I wanted to cast all the actors actually Cuban, from Cuba. So that was very, very challenging. So I don't know if that would be discovery, but I think that many kids who hadn't done anything before were discovered found in this search. Now, discovery, another one would be a movie that I did called Bethlehem, which is shooting right now, and we had to look for Mary, Mother of Christ, which was very, very challenging, and it was a worldwide search, and ended up finding the daughter of Monica Bellucci and Vincent Cassel, Deva Cassel, and after like 5,000 girls that we searched all over the world. So, yeah.
Wow, that's quite a story. Gohar, you mentioned that often you are bringing back people time and time again, folks that you've seen and wanted to cast in things. I'm sure it's true for all of you. I'll start with you, Seth, on this one. For actors who maybe don't feel like they're on your radar right now, who haven't been called in before, what are some steps you find they can take to get your attention?
That is a loaded question, my friend. Look, I always say, like, when I speak at a university or to young actors, like at an acting school, you just have to keep working at it, honing your craft, studying. Obviously, actors today have an outlet, the World Wide Web, where you can make stuff and put it out there, and people like us can find it, as opposed to even a decade ago or 15 years ago. Like, we just didn't search on the internet for people, right? And now we have to, almost. It's expected of us. LA gets a bad rap for theater, and that's not true. So I stress and urge everyone to get into theater here. We do all go, and we do hunt. I mean, I went and saw Frankenstein's Dinner Party last week because a friend was in it, and whether I think it was great or not does not matter, but I now know 6 or 7 other actors that I wouldn't have necessarily. Do you know what I mean? Because we are able to see the talent come through what other factors may be in play. So I urge you all to really tap into the resources, here. And the final thing, and then I'll be quiet, is that I always say is like, you now have people to make product with, content. And so start to meet people and just start writing and shooting and making. And it will come to us somehow.
Yeah, I'm sure that's true for all of you as well. I'm hearing theater, doing live performance. I'm hearing doing digital content. Any experiences like that where you've found someone online or any other places you've been looking lately that you want to encourage people to explore?
I mean, we're always looking. I don't ever watch anything where I'm not working, right? So I see actors in short films. I see actors on other people's reels. I see, as I'm watching, I'm like, ooh. And then I go figure out who that is. It's just like, I go to the theater. I go to the theater here. I go to the theater in New York. There's theater in San Diego. There's Chicago. Like, there's loads of places where we find actors. So work begets work. Just keep at it.
Yeah, I love to hear that. I think that's really encouraging to know you are out there watching that stuff.
And it always seems like someone is all of a sudden very famous and like they just started yesterday and now they're very famous. But many of those actors have been grinding at it for a long, long time.
Yes.
Pedro Pascal was reading for guest stars for a long, long time, and he was as lovely then as he is now. But like now he's a megastar, but that didn't happen overnight.
Yeah.
Definitely did not
happen
overnight for him, and he'll be the first to tell you.
Yeah. That's spot on. A few of you have talked about worldwide casting and really looking beyond just the immediate LA community. One of the reasons that's possible, I think, is the rise in self-taping. There are obviously pros and cons in that process. I'm curious, for actors who want to make an impression on you in a self-tape, when they're not in the room with you, what are some things you've seen that really impressed you, that stuck with you, that made you want to keep them in your Rolodex? Carla, anybody come to mind?
Well, I don't know. I mean, self-tapes, I like them to be simple, really, because I've had all sorts of self-tapes. I've had like little short films sent, where the scene is in a bar and they're actually in a bar with music and no lighting. So I would just say do your best, just do your best scene and send it. And it's going to come through. It does. I know actors get very nervous about self-tapes, but I think it actually has a lot of pros because it gives you the opportunity to do it several times and choose the one you feel the most comfortable with versus going into the room and, maybe having one take, being nervous, and then walking out and being like, damn, I didn't, And also what you said, worldwide, it gives us the opportunity to see thousands of actors versus, the only ones, the amount of actors we can fit into our schedule to come in and read. So.
And I'm sure those preferences are pretty wide as well. I mean, I'm sure at the core what you're saying is true for everyone. Do your best work that you can and submit that, but also the scale of how complicated it needs to be. If anyone else wants to share your experience with that.
I think the most important thing is that we can hear you and see you. So it doesn't really matter what's behind you. I mean, if you can, okay, if you can, but even a cream-colored wall will not ruin your self-tape if you're wonderful on it. You don't have to worry about like purchasing this fabulous curtain. You know what I mean? If you can, try something that's not busy behind you, but that's pretty much it.
$6.99 on Amazon. You can get a blue sheet.
A blue sheet. But yeah, like medium close-up. Sometimes people send us tapes like that are like this wide. I can't see what's going on here. This is film and television. It's a medium of the close-up. But you also don't want, right? So it's just about that, like the simplicity of that. And then it does, and this is the hardest part, which I understand that actors have communicated the difficulty of this. It's the importance of a reader
So
who's not going to
important.
slow you down, who's not going to distract. So I think if you find yourself in a situation where you've been asked for an audition and you can't secure somebody, you should reach out to the casting office and say, I can't find a reader. Is there any way that you can Zoom with me or someone in your office can read something to assist me with that? Because I think I certainly am open to that and I understand that. And I think that is an important component of the success of a self-tape.
Yeah, like your little brother, your grandmother, your mom, your voice pre-recorded as the other part.
Yeah.
Please don't do it.
Yeah.
I know you think it's clever or it will be cute or it's a little kid in the script that you're playing off of. It doesn't translate in a self-tape. And if you are getting 400 self-tapes for a role, which is amazing for actors, right? Actors that wouldn't necessarily have been brought in because we have to move fast or in the old system, like we didn't go that deep. Like, you have to keep it simple and clean and clear and watchable, right? And because if we're sharing it, like, you don't know how busy the producer is or the studio network, and like you just got to keep it clean and clear.
And sticking to the lines as scripted in most cases. I do comedy primarily, and there is a rhythm to comedy and the beats and the timing. And a lot of people want to improvise or add stuff. You could do one take like that, but don't do that on both takes because we can't edit that all out before we send it to the producers.
That's so helpful. Thanks for getting in the weeds on it. I do think actors really don't know what you're exactly looking for sometimes, and so that's really, really helpful to hear.
But you don't need like fabulous production value. You don't need to go to a studio.
No, don't.
There's other departments for that.
Yeah.
And don't have your reader in the shot.
We're gonna break this down really hard right now,
Oh,
okay?
it's great.
And like Gohar said, if you're not comfortable self-taping, jump on a Zoom with us.
Yeah.
Yeah, we
We
offer
make time to
sessions.
Please make the ask.
Yeah. I'm always surprised at how when we put that out, if you're not, we're setting aside this time for people who would prefer to Zoom. I'm surprised every time at how few people take us up on it. And we give feedback and we adjust the performance. It's just surprising to me how few people take us up on it.
Yeah. Wow.
You know, it's funny, but I actually end up asking them to tape afterwards. Because the quality is just not as good.
On the Zoom?
For some reason, yes.
Yeah,
The
there's
quality
a
is not as good when we do the Zoom sessions with the actors. Always the self-tapes, the quality is better to share.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good reminder too. I think.
Being honest.
No, right on. Because I think for actors, they're thinking about their agent passing it to you. They might not be thinking about everyone down the line who needs to see that tape too. So it is useful to hear that. When you are out there online looking for folks, as you talked about doing, I want to talk a little bit about what you hope to find on someone's Instagram page, their website, their IMDbPro page. When you land there, what makes your life easier? What are you looking for?
Well, on IMDb, first of all, a headshot, which it's amazing. But when you're doing like big searches, worldwide searches, sometimes actors don't have headshots. Second, their contact info. Yeah. That's super important because a lot of international actors don't have contact info, and a lot of actors don't have contact info, right? Those would be the two main things to have. And then, of course, all your credits and your,
I think
memorabilia.
I think on IMDbPro, it's I'm pretty sure you can watch clips, and honestly, it's really helpful because it's like one less place we have to go to. Like, because if we're on IMDb, like trying to memorize your resume so we could talk intelligently to our producers about you, like if we can watch something, or we could just bring it up versus like then we have to go to a breakdown and then find your agent's email. Like, I think it's like wonderful to have like great concise clips on IMDb Pro. That's my favorite part of it.
Yeah, I love that too. And if you don't have a lot of theatrical credits, it can be self-created content. Just something so that we can see you doing what you do. And also, I wanted to say regarding headshots, please. Sometimes people have really old ones on there, and then they come in for an audition, and it's a decade later. So I like to see a variety of looks. You can keep ones from when you were younger if it was something cool that you were working on, but I definitely like to see more than one picture and a current picture.
Yeah, and something that, I don't know, a photo that captures your essence. I don't know how to say it. Some people have like a photo that's not really who they are, you know?
It's not.
Well, we get into the whole headshot thing.
Right. It's not your wedding.
It's okay for it to capture who you are, because at the end of the day, that's what's gonna get you the match with the role, right?
Right.
It's gonna.
Right. Not necessarily the most model photo.
Correct.
Of you, the one that captures
Correct.
you.
Not
yeah.
like Glamazon photo. You.
I guess one last question in that area, because you mentioned clips, Seth. Are we in a place now where clips are the primary as opposed to a reel, as opposed to what's most interesting to you?
I mean, no.
Okay.
I mean, all the above. Like,
Yeah.
I think clips are, look, sometimes we're sitting in a room with our producers and we can like go on and just like show them a clip, right? But I think a reel is still very impactful for us educating our producers. You would be shocked how uncreative very high-end creatives are. And so we have to, in casting, spoon feed people information. And so I think reels are important. And I was just saying this the other night, like, I'm a big fan of like, this is my comedy reel and this is my drama reel, so that I don't have to like fish through your Law and Order SVU to get to, Two Broke Girls. I mean, I do a lot of comedy like Jill, so oftentimes it's great to see the other stuff, but like I need to just get to the point. And so, no, I'm a big real person. Again, it's the way, especially as an ex-executive, it's the way we got people hired. Like, I've gotten auditions, like, from Canada or other places, and it's not a great audition, but, like, I know this actor is a good actor, and I'm like, I'm not going to make you, the casting director, go through the process of re-auditioning them. Can you just get me a reel? Because then I can show everyone, like, they can act. So it's very, very helpful for us in casting.
Yeah, that's so helpful to know. Thank you for sharing that. As authenticity is increasingly embraced in casting, and we've been talking about that in a variety of ways, I'd love to hear any recent examples where you expanded your casting pool because of a call for or your own interest in exploring options that expanded the considerations for gender identity, sexual orientation, disability, race or ethnicity. Jill, maybe you want to start us off?
Well, in the last 6 years, I've had the pleasure to cast 3 different lead roles in 3 different projects that were written for a neurodivergent actor. So that was a fascinating process. I learned a lot. And we had to look far and wide, from Google searches to Instagram to calling Autism Speaks, or the different organizations, Facebook groups, theaters that focused on neurodivergent talent. So it was really fascinating process, and yeah.
About a year ago, I did a pilot and then the series called Delhi Boys, which hasn't come out yet. And that was an entire Pakistani cast with one North Indian. But I had to educate myself on Pakistani and Indian history and the war and culture, and really, push back on actors that were like, and I was like, no, you're not Pakistani, which I get because for so long, excuse me, we put like everybody into like this one sort of bubble, and it's like no longer, like we now have to truly be authentic, which I think is like amazing, right? It's stunning that we now, I mean, casting directors were at the forefront of diversity, casting differently. It used to be like the big win was if you could get a female for a male role, and we were like, we did it, But I just, yeah, it's pretty exceptional what's happening.
I've been I'll cut you off.
No, you go ahead.
I've been so fortunate a number of times to be able to cast actors who are deaf or hard of hearing, and that was a fascinating experience. I learned so much about that community, which I'm so grateful for. We worked very closely in terms of outreach with Deaf West Theater. They're amazing. They help us so much with outreach. I mean, like we put Lauren Ridloff on The Walking Dead in a beautiful ongoing role. And then I recently actually cast a short film that was about police violence, and the leads were two young black boys, one of whom was deaf and one of whom was his brother who was fluent in ASL. So we had to do this entire search where Deaf West was so helpful to us, and we did auditions and we worked very closely with interpreters. It's a whole process, and we ended up finding this little boy, Kevon Woodard, and he had done nothing, and our director fell in love with him, and then we pushed our dates a little bit, and then he went and booked The Last of Us and got and shot that, and then he came and shot our short, and then he got nominated for an Emmy. And he was like 9 or 8 years old, raw, had never acted before, and his mother was incredible, and it was it was just such a beautiful thing, and we were like, oh my God, because there's opportunities now for people. And it's not all the kids who are represented in town. You have to go and really find people, and you have to do it using resources that are trusted by that community. Yeah. You can't just go on. Yeah, you have to work with people who are in that community, who can do outreach to the families. And so it's a beautiful thing. And you learn so much about a community that exists, but you don't know intimately. So I think it's a gift.
For me, being Mexican, when I moved to LA, which was 17 years ago, there was no interest in authenticity at all. And I remember that producers would be like, yeah, we want to cast this actor. I would be like, no, but he's Puerto Rican and he can't do Mexican because he's not Mexican. He speaks like Puerto Rican, and it's been a long fight in fighting for authenticity and also educating people about, the Latino world is very, very diverse, and it's been just put into one little box of everyone looks this way and everyone is from Mexico? Because it's 32 countries. Not everyone's Mexican. So that's been my career here, fighting for authenticity and diversity, representation. Yeah.
I'm sure you had to engage with that in a very direct way with Emilia Perez, not only with ethnicity and race, but also trans issues as well. How was that experience and casting and working with the whole team?
Yes, well, that was challenging. We looked everywhere, and then you come into the little nuances of the accents. And for example, Emilia Perez, the characters were actually Mexican, right? And none of them are actually Mexican of the actors, which is challenging for me in a way. But in this case, I did talk to Jack and I said, okay, well, Selena is great and she's great for this role, but you need to put into the story somewhere that she's not actually from Mexico because her Spanish is just not right. Her Spanish is not there, and definitely not Mexican, not native. And then Zoe, well, she can't be Mexican either because she's Dominican and she doesn't look Mexican and her accent was there. So you also need to put into the story something in there to make, because it needs to be real. Otherwise, all the Latino community is like, what are you doing? And then for Carla Sofia. And on top of it, we had to find people who could sing. Not only, for the role of Emilia, trans, right? And to be able to play both roles, the two roles. And so that was a big search. And just trying to also educate, because Jacques doesn't speak Spanish or English, and but trying to say, we can go this way, but we need to adjust it in the story. And it was great with him because he's a very generous person. I've never worked with a director like that, and he actually addressed all those things. Yeah,
that's so interesting. Thanks for sharing that, and so interesting to hear all your experiences where what you're learning in your casting experience, you're bringing back to the producers, you're bringing back to the creative team. They're making adjustments around that. I think that's really exciting.
Yeah, and it's just changed dramatically, as everyone's pointing out. Like when I was an assistant and I came in, and the conversations were so different. And I'm Armenian and I'm an immigrant, and so I had a sensitivity to the people of the Middle East not being a monolith. And I remember I would come in and to the waiting room, and because there'd be a lot of offices kind of. We would share a waiting room, and they would be reading like some small role that was like Arab man number 2, and like half of them were Armenian, and half of them were Iranian. I was like, what's happening, And so and people didn't even want to have those conversations. Like this like he can't play this character because he has a thick Iranian accent. And so now everyone really, I feel like, wants to know and wants to honor that and wants to see that, and so it's nice to not be fighting so hard without seeing a change. Like there's an openness now to all these things.
That's great to hear, yeah. And I'll remind on behalf of IMDbPro as well to make sure you're updating your personal details on your IMDbPro page so they can search for you if they're looking for you for a role.
That is actually very important because sometimes, because I do a lot of diversity, and sometimes I put in their ethnicity, and actors don't put their ethnicities there. And I know they don't want to be boxed into a specific, which is also hard because, you don't want to get into, but then also it doesn't allow us to be able to find you if we are looking for something specific.
I have to say, like, don't be scared anymore about that, right? Like, if you are white presenting, then you can fill that character as well. And if you're white presenting but half Latin, like it's a bonus as well. Like there's so much intricate details to what we get to do now that I feel like it's almost you absolutely should put everything that you sort of identify as, and then leave it to us to really sort of take it and run with it and be able to sell you, because you might not. You might be like, well, I don't, and then I'm not gonna. And it's like, no, it's actually gonna help you and help us get you the job. So I agree. I think you're 100% correct.
Yeah, it's right on to acknowledge that there was fear before in some ways.
But there still is, I understand, because you can be boxed into, you're just Latino or you're just Middle Eastern or you can only play that. So it's tough,
Yeah, that's totally fair. I want to talk about maintaining connections with actors, particularly in a self-tape world, but look, no one wants to be annoying, right? No one wants to be bugging you guys. But how have you seen actors successfully maintain a connection with you and stay in your world? Or has no one?
I'll do it. I'll take it on. It's okay.
Thank you.
I've had experiences where actors who I'm reading, will send me a message that say like, oh, I'm taping for you. Thank you for this. We met on such and such, and just like a reminder, which I think is nice and lovely. And I think that you absolutely, if you have someone's direct contact info, if you want your representative to do it for you, if you're in that situation, that they should you can send people updates. Just do it sparingly and when there's a meaningful update. So you're not constantly messaging them, because we just have such an influx of communication that it just is hard to get through it all. But if you do it sparingly when you have some meaningful update, I think I like getting those kinds of messages from actors I've met and seeing what they're up to, and I think that's lovely.
It used to be postcards.
Yeah. I'm glad there are no more
I know.
postcards.
I was
The amount
like,
of trees.
my old casting partner, Jewel Bestrop, had a box full of postcards, and I'd be like, I hate them. And then I was like doing episodic, and I was like, can I borrow that box of postcards you have? Look, I think it's like what Gohar said. If you're doing something great, if you're really proud of something, if you just got a lead in a show, if you just got a huge guest star, if you just got an arc, just send an email. Guess what? We can either read it or not, right? But this is, I mean, I hate to say this, but it's show business for a reason, right? And you are your CEO and you have to sell yourself. And if you're not going to do it and you're the best sort of proponent for yourselves, well, no one else is gonna. So we're only going to hear about it if you tell us.
Yeah, I would also say that, if you find out that a casting director is casting a certain role that you feel like you fit, do send an email, because we do get a lot of emails, like a lot. We can't get to all of them, and don't feel bad if we don't answer, because we just don't have the time. But sometimes I've received an email where I'm precisely looking for that type of actor, and the email comes in right at the perfect moment, so just stay up to date on what casting directors are doing, what projects are out there, what roles, and you never know. You might be lucky and hit the right moment. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm sure there's not a consistent answer to this, but to that point of if you're an actor and you're tracking the news cycle, you're on IMDbPro, you're reading all the latest articles about a project coming out, is there a stage in that process where you find you are more receptive to messages from agents and where people are trying to get to you? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I feel like when you start the project, it is a feeding frenzy. Thousands and thousands of submissions, lists of known talent that the network wants a name, or who are the known entities that are right for this, and checking avails, and agents pitching. And I always feel like that first week is a little overwhelming. We're in the weeds. So I think more for the discovery phase around week 3. I mean, like if it's a pilot, like we're doing 6-week search or something, the middle.
Great.
Episodic, you have to move fast. If you see something you like, send an email. And every week I take someone out of my emails and try to give them an audition for something. So, yeah.
Wow.
You heard it here first, ladies and gentlemen.
Well, it used to be the postcard game. We would collect all the postcards, and the script would come out, and we'd go through the postcards, and we'd go, which person are we going to pick for an audition? And that doesn't happen anymore, so now it is in my work email account in a folder. So I put them in the folder.
That's good to hear, yeah. Yeah, thanks for sharing that. I want to rewind to some of those favorite all-time projects you talked about, or memorable all-time projects. I won't make you call one a favorite and others not. I want to hear some stories from those projects. So I'll start. Gohar, remind me which ones you told us about. You said
Walking Dead.
Walking Dead.
Yeah, and the Comey Rule.
Oh, yeah. Let's talk about Julia, because I think that's a really lovely show. Any casting moments that stay with you from it?
Well, God, that shot in Boston, so we were trying to cast a lot of actors out of New York, which is my dream. It was all these wonderful theater people. And Sarah Lancashire, who obviously is a very well-known and very well-regarded actor in the UK, but Americans do not know, unless they watched Happy Valley. There was very few people who could play Julia Child. And it was a short list. And we were reading some people, and we got on the idea and loved the idea, and she was lovely enough to agree to fly out here and show her take on the character, because Julia Child was so specific in her physicality and her mannerisms, and that was a real privilege and a pleasure, and we were so fortunate to cast her. And a lot of those people it was like we knew, a lot of those were offers to just incredible people. But Brittany Bradford, who we were looking for a woman to play the producer, and the real woman actually was a white woman. So there was a lot of ongoing conversations because the show took place in the 50s and it was in television production in the 50s. It was highly male and highly white. And the creatives made a choice to make that character a black woman, regardless of the fact that that wasn't true, because we felt that it was important to tell a story of an aspirational story of a black woman artist trying to make it in television in the 50s. And Brittany Bradford read for it among a number of women. She had just graduated Juilliard. She had barely done anything. And they saw her and they were like, that's it. And that doesn't happen a lot. There's a lot of putting actors through the ringer, you know. But I should probably have this higher. But, you know, they fell in love with her and she was lovely. And that show was like all the loveliest people in the world in the cast and also in the crew and all the people. It was just like the loveliest experience.
Yeah, that's interesting to hear you talk about New York theater actors too, and them holding a special place in your heart as well.
Yes, and then we would get just short. Sorry, guys. Sure. We would cast like Jefferson Mays and all these fabulous people, and then we would get like videos from the set where he would they did a number. They did a whole number and Jefferson Mays was singing and like it was a whole to do, and we would get these videos and it was just like the best thing ever because that community is very close knit.
Yeah.
So that was.
I love getting reports from the set after an actor shoots something. If they have a good experience, I love when they send me
Yes.
photos with the cast or a little note telling me about their experience. I love that,
Yeah.
FYI.
That's a great way to stay in
Do it.
contact. I'd love to hear some other personal favorites. I mean, Seth, you mentioned The Hangover, a favorite for sure.
Yeah, I think
Go for
my
what you
favorite
want.
thing just was sort of the process of Max Greenfield on New Girl, because Elizabeth Merriweather and the writers were very big comedy snobs, and they knew everyone, and like they wanted to like pre-read all my lists and like had to and I knew Max really from around town, less as from auditioning him, more just socially, and so I snuck him into my second producer session. It literally snuck him in, like name not on the list, and was like, oh my God, like I forgot to put this person's name on my list. And he came in, and Jake Kasdan, who was not in the room, so we sent the tape that night, like sent a message and was just like, oh my God, he is amazing. Told you. No. And so like that's sort of how it's like, I mean, he obviously like came back and tested and, you know, read with Zoe, but like those moments of like true pride where, you know, we get to be creative and we get to sort of like do our thing, and you know, the magic of like that ensemble sort of.
Yeah, Jill and Carla. Jill, if you'd love to.
I'll do the one that's a flex for my daughter because she loves this one. So like in 2012, I was casting a project for Disney, and I needed to find young talent around, 11 to 13 years old that could sing, act, the whole shebang. And a tape came to me from Pennsylvania of a 12-year-old girl that blew me away. I got goosebumps. She ended up getting the part on the pilot. It didn't go anywhere, but she's doing just fine because her name is Sabrina Carpenter. But I found her like off of a nationwide search. She didn't have an agent. She didn't have a manager. Her dad was like putting YouTube videos up for her, and they somehow saw the casting notice, I think through Nancy Cartwright, told her about it. She's her aunt. And she sent me the stuff, and that was one moment where I just went, this girl is going to be a star.
Wow, that's great.
Let me see. Well, one thing that might, Coco, for example, the boy. I actually knew him from a short film that I had cast recently, right before I started casting this. And I knew he was perfect and he was the boy, right? But of course, we had to go and look for, he came in the first session. I sent him in the first tape to producers, to everyone. And I knew he was the one. But still, we had to go and look at 5,000 other kids everywhere. We flew to Mexico. We did crazy. And then we ended up going back to him. So also, in a way, I know sometimes it's hard and patience because you're waiting to hear. from a project, whether you're gonna, get a call back or what's going on. Sometimes that happens, where you auditioned and 3 months later they come back to you and give you the role.
Yeah, you really will hear back.
Yeah.
Well, thanks for sharing those. That's our time for now. Thank you so much for being so candid, so open. On behalf of IMDbPro, thank you all for coming out today.